What is going on, YouTube? What is going on, Kansas City? And what is going on, everybody? And welcome to the Beat of KC. Ladies and gentlemen, this seems like a trend. We continuously are getting guests onto this show, and they continue to get better and better. Like I said, this is absolutely awesome. Lance, the Spoken, he hosts the Spoken podcast. Man, what is going on? What is going on?
Not a lot, man. I'm just glad to be here with you. I heard that you wanted to talk a little Chiefs, so I figured I'd oblige and jump on here. It's good to be on here for the first official show that I've been on with you, man, and hopefully we can make this happen more often, bro.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. I'm excited for this. I really am. I'm fired up if you can't tell. We're getting close, honestly, to training camp. But before we dive into that, let everybody know where they can find you. Let them know where they can find the podcast and everything like that.
We do the weekly podcast on all podcast platforms every Friday, every Saturday. We try to get those out on by the end of Friday night usually. But yeah, every single week we do a sports show. It's mostly Kansas City based. We talk a lot of Chiefs on there, but we're not above talking anything else. NBA, MLB, anything that we got going on in the world of sports that people are caring about, we definitely bring up, and we give the people our honest opinions. You can follow us on Twitter at The Spoken Pod, Instagram as well. And on Facebook, we have a Facebook group called The Spoken. It's been around since December of 2010. And you can follow my personal account on Twitter as well at Lance The Spoken. We talk all sports all the time. So if you're somebody that out there that wants to, voice their opinion in something, we'd like to believe that's a place where you always feel welcome.
There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, get on over there. Listen, I'm telling you, Lance, I'm pretty sure you have a segment called Lance's Rant, correct?
Lance Rants. Yeah, that's correct.
Lance Rants. You guys got to listen to that. He gets going. So that leads me into, we're going into training camp. We're going into one of the biggest parts of a football season, and that is training camp. There's a lot of things that can happen. The Kansas City Chiefs are going into it, I think, with an attitude, with really a direction at which they want to do. I think we've seen what happened from that Super Bowl, and I'm excited. What are your thoughts just going into training camp? What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Let me know.
Well, I think overall it's one of those, for me, when Patrick Mahomes got drafted, something I said with a good friend of mine, Shaggy Shane, I was on a video of his, and we were feeling sky high for the fact that Chiefs even just drafted a quarterback in the first round and had that anticipation for the first time in most of our lifetimes. I said, though, and I didn't say it hyperbolically. I didn't say it, just out of my emotions. I really felt it and believed it and meant it. That the Chiefs are going to be going to multiple Super Bowls with Patrick Mahomes. They're going to be winning multiple Super Bowls. And ever since he took over in 2018, that has been my expectation. That has been my standard. 2 of those 3 years, the Chiefs have failed to do so, but they did succeed one time, and that gives me the uttermost confidence and belief that this franchise is going to continue to build around Patrick Mahomes and give him what he needs to continue that legacy and to continue making this into a budding dynasty in Kansas City. So my ultimate expectation going into training camp is obviously to see the development of these young players and these new acquisitions. That's always something that excites you, and it should always excite you as a football fan of any team that you follow. But when you have championship aspirations and championship standards with a championship mindset, the fan base should probably just follow suit and have that same expectation the team does. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm expecting to go out there and see a championship product getting ready for week 1.
I most definitely believe in that too, man. We're going to jump in right now to the offensive line. Clearly that was evident in the Super Bowl, and even leading into the Super Bowl, the depth pieces just weren't fully there. We started to run out of steam. It felt like injuries upon injuries. They go out and they address that in the offseason. But one of the biggest things that we're going to talk about is Ramczyk, I believe is how you pronounce his name, the right guard for the Saints, goes out and gets a big-time deal. What are your thoughts on that translating? Obviously, we understand that Orlando Brown doesn't play right tackle anymore. He's going to be our left tackle. But what are your thoughts on, what that does for Orlando Brown and moving forward as far as an extension? Because we know there are a few extensions that are being talked about right now. What are your thoughts on that, as far as helping Orlando or things like that?
I think Orlando Brown, what this does for him is it gives him an opportunity to finally play at his natural position. You saw that last season when he finally took over for the injured player in front of him, and how well he played, how he excelled, because that's naturally where he fits. His father knew that, who was also a player in the NFL, was a great offensive lineman in himself. He knew his son belonged at left tackle, and Orlando Brown Jr. Knows that as well. And you've heard him voice that. And by the way, I must say he's one of the best interviews I've ever seen from a young player, let alone a Chiefs player. It's just great to see him out here articulating his thoughts the way he does.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is going to definitely benefit him, but it's going to benefit Patrick Mahomes and Clyde Edwards-Helaire the most because of the fact that now, although Eric Fisher was a very solid left tackle for the majority of his career, the Chiefs now have an opportunity to have an elite left tackle, and that's only going to benefit the fluidity of this offense and opening up the run game even more so. And guys like Ramczyk over there in New Orleans getting a contract he did, I'd like to believe the fact that the Chiefs went and signed Joe Thuney to that lucrative deal kind of helped Ramczyk as well open up that market for him. And I think you're going to see that as well as the market probably will get reset at left tackle with Orlando Brown Jr. in the coming months, if not the next year.
Yeah, because Trent Williams said, he was being tickled by the Kansas City Chiefs, and then the 49ers come in there and they're like, hey, we don't want you to go. So he got a massive lucrative deal. I mean, that was an incredible deal. I do think Orlando Brown protecting Patrick Mahomes is going to get paid. I mean, it has to happen. I mean, I just believe that's going to happen. So speaking of extensions, I kind of want to flip to the opposite side. One of my favorite players in this game, when he was drafted to the Cardinals, I was devastated because I was hoping there was a way he would come to Kansas City. Tyrann the Honey Badger Mathieu. We've heard rumors. He's very transparent when it comes to voicing his thoughts and how he handles himself on Twitter. He does speak, highly in meetings and things like that. What are your thoughts on his extension? And are we going to see that before training camp possibly?
When Tyrann Mathieu came here to Kansas City, he was not only a player that the Chiefs needed on the field, but they needed him to change something that was far more important than just on-field talent. It was culture. He brought a culture here to Kansas City that they've been missing since the mid-'90s with Derek Thomas and those guys. And I don't say that lightly because that team in the 90s changed Chiefs culture completely with Marty Ball and Marty Schottenheimer and those guys doing what they did. And it really set the pathway of where we're at now. And Tyrann Mathieu, to me, is just an extension of that legacy. And I know that the Chiefs don't bring in free agents like that unless they believe that they're going to be building around them for a long foreseeable future. And that goes beyond the 3 years that they gave Tyrann Mathieu because the Chiefs love giving 3-year deals to players. And I'm not talking about just the links of the contract. I'm talking about the guaranteed dollars. Yeah. You've seen that every contract Brett Veach has given out to free agents and guys they sign extension wise. Now there is something I have been taught or been told rather by people that are very, very close to the Chiefs and have been actually worked in the Chiefs throughout the years is that this particular regime is not too fond of giving out extensions to players that are 28, 29, 30 and above. That's just not the way they like doing things, but there's always exceptions to that rule. Tyrann Mathieu is 100% the exception to that rule, along with Travis Kelce. That's why he got his. You're going to see other guys get that throughout their years that are special. Tyrann Mathieu is special because not only is he great on the field, he's a coach on the field with all-pro talent. He's a culture changer. And so, yes, it's going to be done before training camp. In fact, I've been told that the contract's already in place. And I started to, make a little joke that the only reason it's been stalled is because they're trying to figure out where exactly his name's going to fit in the Ring of Honor because this guy is and he's going to continue to help this team. He's going to be the Patrick Mahomes of this defense because that's what Patrick Mahomes views him, and Patrick Mahomes wants him here. And if we know anything about the power and the swing and the control that Patrick Mahomes has here in Kansas City, what he says he's going to get, man. And that's what he wants. He wants Tyrann here. Tyrann wants to be here. The Chiefs want him here. Enough said.
I hope that they find a way to make some cool PR where they have like landlord signs all around him and it's him just signing the contract. I think that would be absolutely amazing. I mean, he said the other day on Twitter, he went out and got a new crew or he got some new, I can't remember what it was, but it made me laugh, man. That was absolutely awesome. So, it's definitely, he got a lot more positive too. I know he did a little bit of a talk at Tyreek Hill's basketball thing. So you definitely can sense that something's definitely there. And like you said, I do believe it's in place as well. My guess, and I would like to just hear maybe your thoughts. I do honestly believe he could get 4 to 5 years. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that that's a possibility? Do you think we're going to see something very similar to what we saw this first go around?
I think the years are going to be longer just because of the fact that now there's more of a trust here. Because obviously, as much as I think Tyrann Mathieu and the Chiefs liked each other, they weren't in love at that time. They didn't know each other that well. Now that they've had a relationship for the last 2 to 3 seasons, they've won, they've been successful. Everything has gone right. There's been no off-field issues with him. I'm not talking about Frank Clark, obviously, because of the fact that Tyrann has just been a model citizen outside of a few tweets he's deleted, which I feel he should have stood by because they were honest. And I love the fact that he's refreshingly honest about everything. Yeah, I think that you're going to see more years attached to it. But see, here's the thing. The Chiefs in this regime, man, I can't give them enough credit because they're clever, but it's not in a way of being shady, if that makes sense, where it's not bad business or they're screwing the player over. I think they're going to give Tyrann Mathieu a lot of money. I think he's going to make almost $100 million in his next extension. I'm not kidding. I think it can be very, very lucrative on the big time dollars. The guaranteed dollars are what we got to look at. And the guaranteed dollars are going to be within the first 3 years. That's what we're going to see. I would not be shocked at all if the Chiefs give him 4 or 5 years, like you said, but it's the 3 years you have to look at. Same with Joe Thuney. Everyone freaked out over the fact it was $80 million. But if you really look at the structure of the deal, it's a little over half of that in guaranteed dollars over the first 3 seasons. So you can get out of that deal at 31. They're going to get out of Tyrann Mathieu's deal if they really want to by the time he's 31, 32 years old, which he still could very well be in the prime of his career. So the Chiefs have options here. They always leave that back door open in case they need to, shoot the escape valve. I just don't think that's going to have to happen. I don't think they're worried about that because Tyrann Mathieu, since his ACL injury several years ago, has been nothing but healthy and available. I think that's going to continue, and I think the Chiefs are going to continue this great relationship with Tyrann Mathieu, and he's going to be a little bit more richer at the end of it.
For sure, man. And I honestly, I think as we can kind of look at things, the salary cap is obviously going to go back up. That's going to be something we can consider. Frank Clark is potentially going to be not on this team after this season. Anthony Hitchens could be out the door after this season. So I think a lot of things are going to start to shift as far as money. And, we understand that Brett Veach is a freaking guru when it comes to working contracts. And like you said, front loading things or even really sometimes pushing it to the back and maneuvering money to where we can get what we want. So I do have to ask you though, just because I'm curious, anytime a big time like trade rumor pops up or anytime a free agent hits the market, Kansas City fans are immediately, I want that guy. What were your thoughts when Julio Jones became available? And were you ever convinced that the Chiefs were going to try to make it happen? Or were you just kind of naturally like, I don't want this to happen, or I just don't think it's going to happen?
The Chiefs were 100% in the Julio Jones business. They wanted Julio Jones, not just because of what he could have brought to the team, but because he was market friendly. He wasn't going to demand a ton, and you saw that from the Titans. They didn't really give up a ton in the services of Julio Jones, who's still very much a top 10 receiver in this league. People overthought and overstepped on the whole idea that he's an injury-prone player. The guy's missed 10 games in the last 6-7 seasons. That's not an injury-prone player. He had some hamstring injuries last year. Just sometimes you can't avoid that, especially as you get in your 30s. And it was just a weird year with COVID and everything that was going on, man. I think that he's going to be a very productive player in Tennessee, and I think the Chiefs knew that, and they knew that they could pair him across the side of Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. This would be the single most unstoppable offense that we've seen in recent memory. So I do believe the Chiefs were involved. I just think that overall the Titans, with their former coach now being with the Falcons, and there's relationships there between him and Derrick Henry, I think that it just made a lot of sense for them to give it an opportunity. I don't think Julio is going to win anything, and that's unfortunate because he's the type of player that deserves an opportunity to win Super Bowls, and he's always had one. But I would like to have seen him got another one. If you're going to play in the AFC, there's only one team that you can play for if you're really looking for an opportunity to get to a Super Bowl.
Most definitely. I agree 100% with that. I kind of wondered too, and I obviously would like to know the ins and outs of the business of a football team. I kind of wonder if the Falcons were like, that is the Kansas City Chiefs. I would like to see if we can get max return from them, because we know we're going to basically create one of the most epic offenses in the history of football. Well, let's try to maximize it. I mean, obviously, but I think that would have been one of the most incredible things to see Julio Jones in an offense with Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce. I mean, that is a Madden moment right there. That would have just been tremendous. But I do think he is, like you said, I think he'll be able to perform and do some good things in Tennessee. But again, it's going to come down to Ryan Tannehill, and they do have Derrick Henry for a reason. So it'll just be very interesting. I think that would definitely make for a very good AFC championship, but we'll just have to see. So that does lead me to the next side. Obviously, we kind of hinted it a little bit, but Frank Clark, holy smokes, what is going on with that guy? Off the field issues, not really performing the way everyone is expecting on the field. My honest question, we're going to set kind of some of that craziness off the field stuff to the side. What are your true expectations for him on the field? And do you think any of this off the field stuff maybe lights a fire in him? Or do you think we're just going to see the typical Frank Clark?
Well, I think what's going to happen, first of all, is we're going to see Frank Clark not play a portion of the season. I think he's going to miss the first month of the season because we're talking about not one, but two gun charges that are not only gun charges, but within 90 days of themselves in the same state, in the same city that have extremely strict gun laws. So we can get into the legalities of it all. The fact is Frank Clark really screwed himself in all this because of the fact that I do believe he's going to be a Chief this season. But he pretty much, I think, ruined the relationship he has with the Chiefs in this regard. We've seen the Chiefs part ways with players for much less in the recent past. And I mean, this franchise hates negative publicity. They don't like negative feedback. They don't like bad optics. Yes. And that's why you see everything's very buttoned up, very positive. And when something like this happens, they try to part themselves from it unless they have absolute signified proof, like for a guy like Tyreek Hill, that they were innocent. They're not going to stand by it. And I don't blame them, honestly. They like we talked about with Tyrann Mathieu and how the Chiefs wanted him to be a building block and how they trusted him in that. They did the same thing with Frank Clark, if not more, because they traded a first-round pick and gave $105 million to Frank Clark. They were trusting this guy was going to be their elite pass rusher. He has not been that. I will give him credit in the fact that the Chiefs don't win the Super Bowl in 2019 without him because he was an absolute nail in the coffin in the playoffs. During that playoff run, he was maybe the best defender on the team. He was unbelievable in that run. But like Sammy Watkins, you can only go off that goodwill for so long. Yep. And Frank Clark has not lived up to the contract. He's been very frustrating. So I think in all reality for both the team and fan base, if and when the day comes after the 2021 season, when they can get out of that contract, because there's really no guaranteed dollars left, I think that everyone's going to be okay with them moving on, just simply for the fact that you're looking at everything in a vacuum, everything in the big picture. It's probably just best to break away from that. And for Frank, what sucks is the fact that he's going to use this season to showcase his skills to get another paycheck. Yep. And his position, they're always going to be dishing the cash out. The problem now is he's got 2 check marks on him, and the NFL is going to be looking at that. He doesn't have a lot of leverage. Even if he plays well this season, that's going to be a mark because he missed portions of the season due to something that was contract detrimental to the team. That sucks. It's something he's going to have to now bite the bullet on. No pun intended, obviously. And obviously he can get himself back. I believe in him. He's 28 years old, got plenty of talent. I think he's going to get paid again. I think he'll have a successful career. But now he's really cut himself short of a lot of money that he potentially could get. We saw Tyreek Hill was proven innocent. And to this day, he's still suffering for that. Yes. Something he didn't ultimately do. He lost out on money for that. Imagine what Frank Clark's going to have to deal with. It just sucks, man.
Yeah, it's an incredible situation. And, you know, it does seem like this has been a trend as of late. It's almost like you go into the offseason thinking, man, I hope nothing happens. And then sure enough, you know, something pops up as of late. So it is a very unfortunate situation. I definitely made a video about it. And really, that was like the biggest thing for me is the fact that it's just disappointing because you expect more from professional athletes. And I get it that they make mistakes, but I don't know, when you do 2 back-to-back the way you did it, that's not a mistake. And I think you just need to learn from it. So I got it kind of a fun one for you. I've asked this multiple times, and you know, I've done a really kind of covering everything from the draft to breaking down positions. And every time I've gotten comments, questions, and I'm like, okay, I want to kind of reverse this and give this back to the guest. If you had to pick a weakness or a position of weakness on this team, what are you saying is the weakest? And I'll do a part B after I hear your answer.
I think the easy answer would be cornerback, just because of how thin they are, and they don't have a guy currently over the age of 25. So not only are they thin, but they're extremely inexperienced. So I think that's the easy answer. But I'll give you one that I think is a little more interesting. I think it's going to actually be linebacker. As you mentioned, Hitchens is probably going to be on his way out after this season. I think he's going to play well, but can he replicate how really good? And he was really good in 2020. I'd be interested to see if he's going to be able to replicate that. Willie Gay has been good in a small sample size, but he's also been a little injured. So I don't know if we can put our full faith in him. Nick Bolton, Chiefs obviously believe in him, taking him at 58 overall, their first pick of this draft. But he's gonna have some learning curves. Dorian O'Daniel never really panned out. He's been a special teamer at best. So in all actuality, I'm a little more concerned about the linebackers than I am about cornerbacks, because the cornerbacks, they benefit off the fact that the Chiefs have not only an awesome front seven, but an elite back end with the safeties, with Tyrann Mathieu being maybe the best overall safety in football right now, one of the best slot corners as well. And then Daniel Sorensen being a situational football player like he is, coming up clutch in so many moments, and Juan Thornhill playing the way he is with his supreme talent. Chiefs have one of the best safety cores in the league. So the corners aren't the ones that are really going to overly concern me, because as long as the Chiefs are getting pass rushes and getting to the quarterback and having that solidification in the back, I feel like the corners are going to be just fine. But I'm going to go with linebacker.
Okay. And so my part B to that is, obviously we run a lot of nickel. I mean, that's starting to become a lot of defense's base package. I mean, you start to see that nickel come in because offenses are very pass heavy nowadays. I mean, you can go down the list of, good quarterbacks and really just elite, talent. With that being said, would you go corner as a weakness? Because if we do run a lot of nickel, you're obviously pushing another probably corner out there. A lot of our corners have a history of injuries. Does that kind of concern you? Because that's obviously was your first pick. Would you say that the depth at the cornerback position concerns you, along with the experience?
Oh yeah, 100%, man. Like I said, this is something that could potentially really be a blowback for the Chiefs defense, because we don't put a lot of expectation on the Chiefs defense as far as being elite. We know that the offense is going to be the one that carries the majority of the load week in and week out. We know that is what steers the ship here.
Yeah.
But the difference in the Chiefs' results in 2019 and 2018 was the difference not in offense, but actually in defense. The culture had to change. They had to bring a lot, like I said, personnel. You had to go get Frank Clark and Tyrann Mathieu. You had to bring some change to it. Now, I believe in Spagnuolo. I believe he's going to be the right guy to figure out these issues with the thin herd of corners that they have. But at the same time, I got to give the Chiefs a little bit of a benefit of the doubt here, because of the fact that this team now has the rapport and the reputation of, hey, look, we've brought this team to back-to-back Super Bowls, and the worst we've done over the last 3 years with Mahomes is losing overtime to the AFC Championship to the greatest dynasty that's ever lived. And that is what they hang their hat on. So I'm going to give them a bit of the doubt that they know something about this young corner core that we don't at this time. I think Lord Jarius, and I call him Lord Jarius because that man deserves all the glory, hallelujah. Lord Jarius Sneed, in his 9 games last season, was one of the best corners in football. And I think that the Chiefs believe that he is that legitimate cornerstone, if you will, outside there. And I think that once you have that solidified, everything else can be a little bit more gravy. And again, let me reemphasize the fact that the Chiefs are going to have one of the top 10 front sevens in football. It's not going to be as big of a deal, man. I'm telling you, you saw the way the Buccaneers attacked the Chiefs defensively in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Their secondary is terrible. But it was masked because of the fact they were getting to Patrick Mahomes constantly. And it did not matter who was in their backfield. They could have had you and I back there, and we would have looked like Ty Law and Darrelle Revis. So that's the way it works, man. I think the Chiefs defense knows what they're doing. This is the 3rd year now with Spag's system in place. And you know how it usually goes, man. The results are usually the best in that 3rd year. So I'm expecting good things for the defense. They don't need to be elite. They just need to be right there in the middle, if not maybe right outside of the top 10. And this team's going to be right back in the Super Bowl.
For sure. And that's what when I was interviewing Blake, that's one of the biggest things that I hit on was the fact that I feel that Spags, I think this defense, we're actually going to see the best Chiefs defense under Spags. And then that's just my opinion. I think that he's finally got that front 7 that you're talking about. I mean, we go out and get Reed. You're kicking Chris Jones out. Derek Nottie, we're seeing slim down a little bit. And really, we know what we're getting in him. We kind of have some depth there at the D tackle position, a little bit of youth there, but we still have some enough to where it's impactful, I think. And then you go out, draft Nick Bolton. You got Anthony Hitchens there. We're hearing some pretty amazing things about Willie Gay taking that next step. But I do understand your concerns with the linebacker position. What are you, I guess, most excited about from this defense? Like, are you excited that, I guess, our front 7 is looking like? What are you this is going to be it?
Oh, man, I can't emphasize how excited I am to finally see Chris Jones get what he wants. We saw Dontari Poe get a chance to, score a few touchdowns on the offensive side, and that made his career and legacy what it is, man. He'll forever be known as that guy, did the bloated pig play in Denver. I think it was in Denver. It was just an Arrowhead against the Broncos. I don't remember. But to see that kind of thing happen, I think Chris Jones has paid his dues, man. I think that goes without saying. getting his opportunity to play on the edge is something he wants to do. And I can't even imagine, because most of the time, left tackles, right tackles, they always have the advantage in size.
Yeah.
Well, when you're against Chris Jones on the edge, you don't have the advantage in size in almost any regard. You're talking about a man 6'5", messing around with 300 pounds, and he's just an absolute monster. So that's going to be so much fun to watch. But honestly, I think the guy that's going so unnoticed, and he's actually a bigger name than most people give him credit, is Jarran Reed. I think Jarran Reed's going to be really good this year, man. That's the guy I'm really looking forward to. And honestly, it placates to the Frank Clark situation. Because when Frank Clark plays, and we've seen it, his best year was with who? Jarran Reed next to him. I think that you're going to see something whenever Frank Clark gets back that oh, okay, now we get why these guys were clicking up in Seattle. And then just to throw a nice little spice into the mix, we got Chris Jones on the other side. So that's going to be an absolute blast, man. I think this front seven is going to put some damage on some opponents this year, and I'm really looking forward to that.
You nailed it, man. You honestly nailed it. And that's what I think I'm most excited, because I think from a replication, I think Reed is very, very similar to Chris Jones in the way that, the way they attack and go after the quarterback from the D tackle position is one of the most incredible things. And like you said, also the fact that Frank Clark and Reed both had career years when they were playing next to each other. I think that's what's going to be most exciting too. And then you have no idea who's going to come flying off the edge. Is it going to be a corner in L'Jarius Sneed? Is it going to be the Honey Badger, eating whoever in the backfield? So I definitely think that this defense is going to be, and I don't mind saying it, I think it's going to be elite. I think we're going to be very shocked to see how much this, has progressed. If you had to pick one player on the defense, though, that you think most people are just not aware of, or maybe they just don't know yet, that is going to have an impact this year, if you could pick one player, who do you think it will be?
I really thought that Josh McCain-Doe, I think he might be a guy that, because everyone remembers Tano Passanio as this project, right?
Yeah.
And I think that Joshua McCain-Doe being brought in is the same thing. Only difference is he's a more polished football player. Tano Passanio was just a monster. He was a Hulk with a helmet. And I think Kando, with adequate size, obviously, I believe he's about 6'4", 6'5", and about 265 pounds. Big man. And he's obviously, like I said, not somebody that the Chiefs are going to be throwing out there and say, all right, man, go out there and get 11 sacks. That's not what they're going to do with him.
Yeah.
They're going to push him out there. But I think that you're going to see some pretty surprising plays from him and blitz packages and opportunities on third downs. I think you're going to see some stuff from him, that some elements to his game that you're like, oh, that's what it looks like to be this big as Passanio, but with actual football skill. That's what you're going to see out of him, I think, in spurts. I'm not expecting a ton, but I want to see like 3 or 4 moments this season where he just shows, okay, I see what Brett Veach was talking about with this guy. He may never be a star, but he's going to have some moments, and I think that's what he's going to be.
For sure, man. You see it in his highlight tape. There's that one where he looks extremely athletic and he picks that ball off and runs it for a touchdown. I mean, that right there had me immediately say, well, this isn't passing. Yeah, this is, exactly what you said. So, yeah, man, that made me excited. One person that I would like to see, honestly, and I still think there's a chance they could end up on the practice squad, but Bo Peep Keys. I would like to see him, honestly, maybe pull a L'Jarius Sneed and us. I think a lot of people just forget at times he's even on the team. And it would be cool if he could just come out and have like a L'Jarius Sneed season without getting hurt and really kind of just sure up another spot in the cornerback position. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know how anybody can forget a man named Bo Peep. Let's be honest here. I mean, it's going to be kind of hard to forget a name like that. But no, I like his talent. I think that his issue has been sometimes just bad decisions, bad judgment calls. And he's just been burned a few times in his opportunities. And I think that once he gets that down, he can be a solid contributor to this team. He's got the talent, like you said. He's got plenty of talent. He's got an opportunity with very little pressure and expectation on him to compete, man. So, yeah, I'm going to say that Bo Peep gets an opportunity to be a key to the team. Yeah, I'm going to go with it.
Let's go. I like that. All right, man, another fun one. So if you could pick any player in the NFL right now, no cap, nothing's going to affect it. You could pick them off of any team and add them to the Kansas City Chiefs. Who are you going with?
Ooh, man, I like this question. I mean, I would be such a horrible person if I didn't pick an offensive player, because you always want to fantasize some great player in the NFL, getting to play with Patrick Mahomes on the offensive side. I've played around with this one because I wanted to always entertain a running back, but I'm a big believer in Clyde in this offense, especially with the offensive line being solidified. So you have to go with the receiving option. So if I really had to take a real just stab at it, I mean, I don't know how you don't go with a guy like a DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, you're talking about a guy that is one of the most sure-hand players that we've seen in the last 7-8 years. And the fact that he's maybe the best route runner in football outside of maybe Davante Adams. You're talking about the speed and quickness and agility of Tyreek Hill on one side, the elite talent as a glorified tight end / receiver in Travis Kelce that just walks his way to 1,000 yards every season now. And then, oh, by the way, we have the best wide receiver in football in his prime on the opposite end, just literally shaking fools and breaking double teams. Oh, wait, you can't double team him because we got 2 Hall of Famers in their prime on the other side. Yep. Never mind. Yep, that's called an L. So, yeah, I would much – if I had to choose one guy, I'd be remiss if I didn't give Patrick Mahomes the best of the best in their prime, and that is DeAndre Hopkins right now outside of Tyreek Hill and Davante Adams. Give me D-Hop. Give me Nuke all day, bro.
That's what's up, man. And, honestly, I think I kind of had a moment where I could see into the future and predict what your answer was going to be. So I already have a follow-up question for that. We understand that in free agency, we went after Juju Smith-Schuster. He just unfortunately and for some crazy reason turned us down. So that leads me to Davante Adams is going to be a free agent next year. We see what is going on there in Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers is chilling on a beach somewhere, hanging out, drinking Honolulu drinks. I mean, he is not a part of this organization right now, and we know that they have one of the most elite receivers up there. He's going to be a free agent. How just excited would you be if the Chiefs just offered everything to him and just went out and got him to add to this team?
Well, I would have to start emailing my team, my family members and stuff like, listen, guys, we need to get ring fitted right now because we're going to get this year. So get ring fitted. I'm a size 10. You guys let me know what your sizes are. We'll go to Hellsburg. We'll call it a day, man. No, you're talking about the opportunity of a lifetime right there, man. Salary cap be damned. You're talking about a guy that would reset the offense. I mean, you're talking about a guy that would add so much more to I don't even know if teams would want to play those games. You're talking about forfeits, bro. You're talking about legit forfeits because there's just you can't put a secondary together that would even be able to put a respectable performance against an offense that formidable. So, yeah, for the NFL's sake, they might do like a Chris Paul and David Stern situation where they veto that opportunity because, like, look, man, we got to keep this thing fair, bro. You guys are all 5 years ahead of everybody. You guys are like the 2017 Warriors, for Christ's sake, man. We can't do this.
I'm telling you.
Got parity. We need parity in the league.
I'm telling you. But what's crazy is I think that there is a chance because at that point, it's like, Juju, man, you're like B in this option. I mean, we want A. We want the A+. And I think, if they can find a way to structure that cap because, he's always been open about, how he grew up and how they always really didn't have money. And he's showing up to training camp because he wants to earn every dollar. I could see him potentially wanting to come win a Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs, maybe take a little bit less and come on board. I could see that, but there's always other places that can lure him in as well. But it'd be interesting, man. I'm excited just to see what happens with that. But we got to get through this season first, obviously. But man, I'm excited. So I always ask this question. It's a schedule question, and so how I word this, it's one of the biggest games of the year. More than just the two teams. So obviously the Chiefs and the opposing team are going to be watching this game. It's on that level. Which game are you picking and which one are you most excited for?
As far as on the Chiefs schedule?
Chiefs schedule.
Honestly, this might shock you because of the fact that the Chiefs have done so well against this team this year, or have done so well over the last few years against them. But I'm looking actually forward to that Ravens game.
Are you?
The reason why is not because I think it's going to be some intriguing game, even though the media tries to make it into that, which it's just not. The reason I'm so big on this is because I think it will officially, once the Chiefs go in there, I think it's back in Baltimore if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
Once the Chiefs go in there and win that game again, and we're talking about 4 straight victories now against the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, Lamar would be 0-4 against Patrick Mahomes. I think that kind of would just kill any idea that this could ever become a rivalry outside of what ESPN tries to create it into becoming. Because of the fact that then it would also show that The last guy to win MVP on the AFC side of things was Lamar Jackson before since Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
I think that's going to show that that's how different they are between them as players, because the excuses aren't there when it comes to Lamar Jackson and the difference of talent. That guy's had one of the best rosters in football since he took over, and one of the best coaches. So there isn't that excuse of, oh, well, Lamar's team's in the development phase, whereas Patrick Mahomes walked into a Super Bowl contending type of team. Let's put context into it. Before Patrick Mahomes took over, when Andy Reid was there from 2013 to 2017, they won one playoff game. They've won 6 since. So since 2018. So yep. Patrick Mahomes is the ultimate difference maker. Lamar hasn't done that for the Ravens. And no matter how much people try to create him into becoming this superstar quarterback, they're not even allowing people to film him at practice throwing the football after he got drugged in the mud for that Sammy Watkins duck that he threw. So look, I want to see that game again, because when the Chiefs go in there and pile that ass, we're going to see why that is for the 4th straight time. And hopefully most times third time's the charm. I guess 4th time will be the charm in this one, because they're still trying to create that narrative, and it ain't going to work, man. So sign me up for that one. I think it's week 3. Sign me up for week 3.
That's what's up. That's exactly what I was going to say. When you can't even film your quarterback because he's throwing wounded ducks out there, I mean, come on. I don't mind trash talking a little bit. And Ravens fans, they tend to be some of the most naggy. Like on Twitter, man, they are all about it. So I love that pick for sure. Mine obviously is going to be the first game out the gate. I think that Cleveland Browns game, they got better across the board. They're getting Odell back. That defense, holy smokes, really solidified the secondary, the linebackers. They go out and draft the kid from Notre Dame. They go get Jadeveon Clowney. He's not obviously as elite or what he was, but I think when you plug him in against one of the most fierce defensive ends in the game, Myles Garrett, I mean, you're talking about a pretty good football team. We know what they got in the run game. It all comes down to me is how Baker performs. And I think that's how Cleveland Browns fans feel anyways, is how's Baker going to perform today? So what are your thoughts on that first opening game? It's going to be in a packed Arrowhead. I mean, it is going to be insane to be a part of that game. What are your thoughts on that opening game?
I'm so happy that the schedulers put this one in week 1. Just because I think that this is a lot like what happened with the Texans last year, where the Chiefs gave up 24 unanswered points in that Texas divisional game. I think the Texans will be motivated coming into week 1, and the Chiefs just blew their asses out, man. It wasn't even a game. It just wasn't. It just showed the difference in class. And I think that's what's going to happen. I don't want to make predictions yet, but I think that's what's going to happen in week 1. I think that the Browns, you said, you're 100% right. That's a good team. I mean, you'd have to be a blind fool to sit there and tell me that's not a damn good roster. That's not one of the best offensive lines in football. Kevin Stefanski has proven his worth as coach of the year last year. I think that this team's ready to get into the playoffs and maybe even potentially make a push. Here's the difference: is that you saw when Patrick Mahomes was healthy in that playoff game against the Browns in the division round last season, the Chiefs were outclassing them. They were up by 16 points. Then they scored, I believe it was a touchdown after that. And then Patrick Mahomes was driving, gets knocked out of the game, literally.
Yeah.
The Chiefs were going to roll the Browns. They ended up winning with Chad Henne's magic at the very end. And so that tells me that the Browns could not stop even the counter that the Chiefs had to counter on their own. They had to counter their own injuries. And the Chiefs were out there still making things happen and ended up winning the game. I'm not saying the Browns don't have a chance in this game, but I love the fact that the Chiefs get to silence the critics once again in week 1 like they did last season, because you're already hearing it chirp. You're already hearing people calling that Browns team to win that game, get to the AFC Championship, get to the Super Bowl, maybe even win the Super Bowl. I'm not disrespecting that team, but I'm sorry, man. You're going to have to pick me some ideas as to what team in the AFC can come at the Chiefs and legitimately beat them in 4 quarters, because that team doesn't exist right now. Unless you start fantasy football in it and start piecing some guys together on some other team, that ain't happening. So I love the fact that this is week 1, because like I said, the Chiefs love shutting up some critics, man. They do it really well. They do it better than most, and they're going to do it in week 1.
For sure, man. I think, obviously the Browns have that chip on their shoulder, but I think the chip's a little bit bigger when it comes to the Chiefs, just because of exactly what you said. You have the media that's like, oh, the Browns this year, the Browns are going to do this. And it's like, whoa, have you forgot who the Kansas City Chiefs are and who's their quarterback? I mean, and even their coach. I mean, it's Andy Reid. So yeah, I'm excited for that one. Now, kind of switch it up just a little bit. I think this is a very fun question too. From a fan perspective, who are you looking forward to just from a fan perspective? And my example is, I'm just excited for the Eagles game. Andy's going back to Philly. I'm a big Jalen Hurts fan. I always liked what Jalen Hurts was capable of doing at Alabama into Oklahoma. They go out and draft Devonta Smith. They got Jalen Reagor on the other side. We got a little bit of an aging defense over there, but I still think that game is going to be exciting. Not that it's going to be competitive, but it'll be exciting. Which game are you going to pick that is just from a fan perspective? You're just like, I'm just excited to watch this game.
Oh, the Cowboys, without question.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll stick with you in the NFC East side of things. I definitely think it's the Cowboys game because of the fact that the Chiefs, despite being so successful, they don't get a lot of a spotlight like teams like, I don't know, the Cowboys when it comes to media coverage. Well, the media is going to have to talk Chiefs against the Cowboys. And I want to hear Skip Bayless. I want to hear a lot of these other fools on here talking about why the Cowboys are going to take down the Chiefs. And that, I think it's like week 11, I don't remember what week it is when they face each other. And I believe it's in Dallas too. So this is what's great about it, man, is that the Chiefs get to go out and take an opportunity. Patrick Mahomes gets to go back home, close to home, and he's actually a former Cowboys fan. Don't tell anybody I told you that, but there's, they're Cowboys fans out there, and he gets an opportunity to showcase himself against a horrific defense. I mean, who doesn't want that?
Yeah.
The most popular team in the NFL, the Dallas Cowboys, has one of the worst defenses in football. Patrick Mahomes gets an opportunity to expose that team, and I believe that's on a midday game too, so a lot of the nation's going to be watching that one, or maybe maybe a primetime game. I got to check my schedule.
Yeah, but, I gotta look too for sure.
A lot of people are watching that game, man, because again, you have the star recognition of Patrick Mahomes. Dak Prescott just got his contract. He's coming off an injury. There's always expectations for the Cowboys. I'm very excited for that one, even though it really has no bearing on their seasons, really, if you think about it. So I'm really excited for that one.
For sure. I hope Dak found his ankle, and I hope that, Ezekiel Elliott has not grown that feed me tattoo anymore, because that thing is about to explode. So most definitely, man, I'm looking forward to I am looking forward to that game too. This has been awesome, man. One final question. I don't know how much you play fantasy football, or even if you play fantasy football, but if do you play fantasy football?
Oh yeah, I've played many years, man. I'm a 4-time champ. I definitely
All right, so I'm going to give you, most people don't take quarterback in the first round. We're just going to go ahead and eliminate that anyways. And I know it varies obviously where you pick in the first round, but if we'll just say you had we'll just say first pick or whatever, if you could pick any player with with your fantasy football team, who are you going with first?
I can't pick a quarterback?
No quarterback.
Okay. I honestly think that it's going to be a wide receiver. I think that it's going to be one of those top tier guys. But I'll throw a wrench in this one. I think that it might be Justin Jefferson from Minnesota. Okay. If I was going, because of the fact that you saw how great he was early on. Now that he'll know the offense even better, Kirk Cousins is in a prove-it year, because I think that the Vikings can get out of his contract after this next season. I think that you're going to see a lot of production from that Vikings offense. Mike Zimmer, he thinks this might be his last opportunity. I think Justin Jefferson might be that guy, man, that gets himself 1,700 yards, 13, 14 touchdowns. So if I couldn't pick a quarterback, I'm going wide receiver. I'm going with a guy that's going to get a lot of targets this year, Justin Jefferson.
For sure, man. I definitely see him rising up the boards a lot, because, you always have the kind of consistent ones, the D-Hops, the Julios, the Devontae Adams. But I think you always have some of those young studs sprinkle in there. And I do think that is a perfect example of someone who really showed us last year what he's capable of doing, and he's only going to take that much more of a step. I mean, that's incredible. So yeah, man, I could not agree more with that pick. I usually go running back just because I like running backs and the ground and pound. But yeah, man, I definitely would not mind taking that pick. Lance, man, I can't thank you enough. I think this was incredible. I hope we can do this again. The excitement, the energy was definitely in this, man. That it was incredible. Thank you so much, man.
Hey, you're welcome, dude. Anytime you need me, just hit me up, man. And one of these days we'll try to get you on our show as well, man, because that's what it's all about, is promoting each other, man. Because it's not a big city in Kansas City, but it's big enough for all of us to eat, man. And that's what we're here to do. So thank you for having me on, man. It was an absolute blast. This is what I love doing. And you just basically made my night on this, man. So whenever you need me, hit me up, brother.
That's what's up, man, for sure. And you want to give everybody one more time your social medias and your podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. On Facebook is where it all started. It's The Spoken. It's a sports page, sports group. Just hit the invite button or accept button, and we'll bring you in. You're able to post whatever you like in the world of sports. On our Twitter pages, it's at The Spoken Pod. My personal one is at Lance The Spoken. I'm a lot more opinionated on that one, if you will. And then we're on Instagram as well, The Spoken Podcast. And we just try to stay as social as possible and, make everybody feel welcome, because that's what it's about, man. It's about all you guys. We just always try to have as much fun as we possibly can, man. And that's what it's all about. And you keep crushing it, bro. That's what it's all about, dude. And keep doing what you're doing. You got people on the side, myself included.
Thank you, man. It means a ton. It really does. And yeah, man, I'm looking forward to the grind. This is what's special. And yeah, this has been a pleasure, man. You guys know how I do it and how I end these videos. I appreciate you guys swinging by and checking out this video. I appreciate you checking out the Beat of KC. And as always, have a good day.